long ago, in a tower by the edge of the sea, a foolish young mage summoned something into the world that he was not prepared to control. What stepped before the boy was something older than recorded history, something darker than a yawning starless night, something the world had desperately tried to forget. In an instant, the mage, the creature, and the tower itself were lost to all of time. At least, that's what the stories say. Children frighten each other around the fire with tales of a monster that raises itself from untended graves. Drunken sailors trade accounts of something standing alone on a tiny, distant atoll from which no one has ever returned. Soldiers tell fables of a lonely farmhand who was blamed for a poor harvest and fed to the crows, later returning to the world as a demon. But these are simply fables to frighten young children. No one would ever be afraid of a silly old monster called Fiddlesticks, right? Wrong. Very wrong. Fiddlesticks is a primordial entity that predates the rise of civilization, building its body out of random items and piecing itself together to look more human. The reason he does this is to lure in his prey and not scare them off right away. He is able to mimic the voices of creature and people he has killed, like some kind of demonic kenku. Reports of him span the entire world, as well as similar reports of 9 other demons, but it is debated on if these 9 other demons are also Fiddlesticks in different forms. The general lack of information about Fiddlesticks implies that he is supposed to embody the fear and terror of the unknown. Other creatures similar to Fiddlesticks have been called demons, and all of them seem to eat or absorb a kind of negative emotion or feeling. Examples of this is Tom Kench. He feeds on the greed of mortals. Evelyn feeds on the lust. Fiddlesticks seems to feed on fear, and my ADC feeds the enemy team. Fiddlesticks, like many champions over the years, got completely reworked and changed to fit the game's modern aesthetic, and because of that, all of his old lore and trivia don't really help us understand his current iteration. Up to this point, I have stayed 100% true to the source material, but because of how little information we have on him, I'd like to add my own interpretation of the character, so that it's easier to tie into multiple D&D settings. Now at first glance, I'm tempted to make Fiddlesticks the product of an evil mage. Maybe this mage animated a scarecrow and it gained sentience. If that works for you, go right ahead and create an adventure about that. But I'm going to dive a little deeper. I'm going to make my Fiddlesticks part of a bigger picture, something more evil and disturbing than just an evil farm tool. I'm going to take Fiddlesticks and the other demons I mentioned earlier and tie them to their negative emotion, making a kind of demonic coven. So, my Fiddlesticks in a normal D&D setting would go something like this. Far away, in a small farm town, a boy lays in his bed looking out his window toward his family's farm. As he lays there, slowly drifting off to sleep, a crow bounces off his window. The boy jumps and his heart races. No longer able to easily fall asleep, he goes back to staring at the fields. A light breeze blows through the field, and the scarecrow's clothing flaps as if it's waving at him. Unsettled and still on edge from the crow, the boy rolls over in his bed, turning his back to the scarecrow. As he closes his eyes, disturbing images of the scarecrow begin to flood his imagination, unintentionally crafting a nightmarish version of that scarecrow in the fields. The boy, seeking reassurance, rolls back over to face his fear and prove that the scarecrow isn't actually that scary. He opens his eyes just in time to see his window sliding open and Fiddlesticks stepping inside. In a normal D&D setting, I would make Fiddlesticks, along with the aforementioned demons, a byproduct of the very emotions or feelings they feed on. Perhaps when somebody is seriously scaring people, or in places of great fear, Fiddlesticks will appear. An example of this could be townsfolk believe that an old abandoned cabin is haunted, and it's a place of great evil. With enough people feeling scared or believing that this cabin is evil, those feelings could be an invitation for Fiddlesticks to claim it and truly give them something to fear. Humanoids lusting or feeling greedy could make one of the other demon spirits appear. In the game League of Legends, Fiddlesticks has several abilities that show what he is capable of and gives us a good idea on how he would trick and attack his prey. Instead of doing a copy and paste of his entire kit, I want to focus on just a handful of his features and make them his go-to tactics per se. My Fiddlesticks is going to focus on making some sort of copy of himself, either an illusion or a physical entity, draining creatures of their fear and life force. For his statistics, I have decided to take the Scarecrow stat block from the monster manual with some thematic adjustments. Trying to keep in the CR 6 to 9 area, we're going to give him some decent modifiers and resistances. Getting into his first special ability, we have given him his Effigy. This ability lets Fiddlesticks create harmless copies of themselves and essentially act as an animated alert spell. These effigies grant Fiddlesticks the ability to hide from and cause fear in unsuspecting adventurers, as well as Fiddlesticks can pretend to be one of these harmless scarecrows to get a kind of sneak attack on his prey. Fear is a touchy subject for me. I dislike the idea of telling players how their characters are feeling or what they're scared of, magic or not. However, taking a look at the Scarecrow stat block, its fear ability doubles as a paralyze. Fiddlesticks, to me, uses his deception and fear abilities to single out a target and attempt to pick people off one by one, so I have decided to give him the ability to critically hit anyone who is feared as long as he is in melee range with them. He has a multi-attack with some very basic low damage attacks, and of course his targeted fear ability just like the Scarecrow we're basing him on, but there are two other things I want to focus on. Fiddlesticks could fear the Mage, but getting close to that Mage could be troublesome. So this ranged attack originally was just the ability to cast Toll the Dead, but in-game, Fiddlesticks can use it to stop other champs from casting spells for a brief time. I thought that was really interesting, so I have decided to add this new kind of feature to his stat block. Essentially, he would use this against the druids, mages, or rangers of the party to protect himself for a turn and potentially close the gap between them. If they are hit with this attack, they have to make a saving throw. If they fail that saving throw, they cannot speak or make any noise with their mouths. Whenever they try, only the sounds of crows can be heard instead. This does not stop mages entirely, but it disables their spells with verbal components for a turn. The main reason I've included this attack is because Fiddlesticks does not have very many hit points. He may be resistant to normal weapon damage, but a few fireballs would give him a very bad time. I put him around CR 6, so if you're going up against a level 6 wizard, a couple fireballs and you're not going to have a Fiddlesticks anymore. Essentially, this was a don't fireball me attack, but it could also come in handy to stop other spells that have verbal components. Lastly, I'd like to talk about his insurance against being surrounded and pounded into the dirt. He is able to force all creatures within 30 feet of himself to make saving throws. Those who fail lose 2d8 hit points, and Fiddlesticks regains all the hit points taken from those creatures. This is very similar to his in-game ability that allows him to do just that. He drains some life from surrounding living creatures, and he regains life because of it. I found this ability to be very enjoyable to design. However, it could be very troublesome if your characters lack any form of ranged damage. However, a way to outmaneuver this attack would be to hit Fiddlesticks one at a time and have the characters move around in different directions. This forces Fiddlesticks into using his weaker ranged attack or only getting one person with his drain ability. I considered putting a recharge on his drain ability so he couldn't spam it, but after some thinking, it may be fine as is. But by all means, if you think that this ability is too strong, throw a d6 recharge on there and have him only be able to use it whenever he rolls a 4-5-6 or even a 5-6. The way I think about it is if all players surround a creature and easily kill it, I don't think they feel very challenged, but it's their choice to use that strategy. Running away or spreading apart and using ranged attacks are options they could take, and let's be honest, killing is what Fiddlesticks does. Thanks for watching. Tell me in the comment section how you would make your own Fiddlesticks. Did you enjoy my version? And what do you want to see next?